If you look at some of the agreements they seem to have formed over the weekend, one big issue is their spending plans. Of course, both these parties had issues that they were very, very keen on during the campaign. For Lega, it was a 15% flat tax. For the Five Star, it was this universal basic income. Both of those, of course, are going to dramatically impact Italian treasury coffers, because of the 15% flat tax will mean a dramatically smaller tax take. It could cost between 65 and 100 billion euros. That's according to the Corriere della Sera newspaper here in Italy. Whereas if you look at the universal basic income, that could be anywhere up to 40 billion euros annual basis. So if you look at the potential costs to the Italian government spending, that will be pretty dramatic. That will be something investors will be watching as we potentially ease closer to the end of QE, as Mr. Draghi decides to try and tighten things up a little bit. It'll get more and more expensive for the Italians to borrow money to try and fund that spending. In terms of the political candidate they're trying to put forward as Prime Minister, you mentioned there we've not yet heard a name. One reason for that, we understand, is that they haven't agreed upon a name. They had two sets of talks up in Milan, Matteo Salvini and Luigi Di Maio yesterday, and they don't seem to have come to an agreement on who they themselves would like to have as Prime Minister. They're going to, in theory, be meeting with Sergio Mattarella in the Quirinale Palace behind me later on today. They will be meeting separately with him, talking about candidates, and of course it'll be him, Karen, that has the final word on who is appointed as Prime Minister.
Party leader seems to want each other, and neither wants a technocrat, so I guess that also rules out Italy's most famous technocrat, Mario Monti.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've heard that now for the last week or so, that both those parties saying they don't want anyone other than a political candidate. It could be someone, they both said, outside of their respective parties. They have warned, though, that if a technocrat is the one appointed or pushed forward by Sergio Mattarella, that they and their parties will refuse to essentially sanctify that appointment in the Parliament, in the Chamber of Deputies in the lower house, the Senate in the upper house. That would force Mattarella to dissolve this new Parliament, and at that point we'd have, in theory, elections within 60 days from now.
Willem, I just want to come back to the economics a little bit more, because what's been proposed is exactly what voters are looking for: cutting taxes but increasing welfare. The problem, and the reason why it's not been done before very often, is because it increases debt and leaves generations to come with a huge excess to pay off. Even more tricky in this scenario is breaching those EU fiscal rules. So if we look at some of the proposals and how these two parties would cobble together some form of economic policy, the only escape clause is often escape velocity, promising better economic growth rates. Would it be even possible for Italy to outperform with this so-called dynamic modelling around growth rates at this point?
Well, yeah, again, you look at the Italian growth rate compared to its Eurozone counterparts, and it's definitely at the bottom end of the pack there. If you think about the rollback of potential pension reforms we saw under Monti back in 2011, that's something the Europeans were very happy to hear was going on here following the financial crisis. And that is going to be a big concern. If you look at the modelling ahead of time, if they're going to spend a lot more money, they're not going to have the taxes coming in to defend that. It's going to be difficult for them to try and balance their budgets.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.